Lots of familiar faces appearing. Very exciting to see you all. It's just gone 10:30, so hello and welcome everybody. I'm Faith Appleton, a Senior Learning Designer with the LDI team, and I'm the facilitator for today's session. I'm playing the role of timekeeper. It's a 90-minute session, so every presenter will have 15 minutes, and then we'll have question time at the very end. Throughout the presentations, all the participants, please keep your microphone and video turned off and write all your questions into the chat. This will help us streamline question time. Before I introduce our first presenter, I want to pause and respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we live, work and learn, and pay my respects to the First Nations people and their elders past, present and future. Today's first presenter is Braund. Anne, I'm going to hand straight over to you. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Faith. Thanks for the acknowledgement of country. That was our first thing off the rank this morning, so that's already done. Super. I'll just share screen if I can, please. I'll just go from there. And let me try here. Can you see it big on your screen now?
Yes, we can see it perfectly.
Excellent. Fabulous. Great. Thanks, Faith, for that introduction. Yes, well, actually, Faith is working in the team that I'm presenting from today. So, yes, hi, everyone. My name's Anne Braund. I'm from the School of Access Education, and a diverse team of people has been working together this year, developing some modules for our undergraduate core unit. So in the room to present with me today is Zoe Allen from the Learning Design and Innovation team, and Madeline Stewart, who I've been working with developing the curriculum for this particular module, has unfortunately contacted us, and she has a terrible migraine this morning, so she's not able to join us. I don't think you're here, Maddie. Sing out if you are. But we've been working together developing this curriculum, myself and Maddie. And Zoe and Nick Lawler from Learning Design and Innovation they make it come to life. So I'll show you how that happens later in this presentation. Faith is our project lead for developing the core unit in all of our undergraduate courses. And Kate Ames, of course, the Director of LDI, is involved in this project as well. So what this module is that we have been creating is all about developing an enhanced understanding and appreciation of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and culture. And there's no better way to do this than to embed this module into a new undergraduate core unit. So as part of CQU Renew, we've made this a core component of the new undergrad unit. So let's have a look at what's included. One of the key goals of CQU Renew, the curriculum refresh, was to make the graduate attributes and capabilities more visible in our undergraduate curriculum. So we have embedded into the new core unit, which starts in term 1, 2021, from in first term, we've embedded the graduate attributes into that core unit. And as you can see there, there's the 10 graduate attributes I'm sure you're all familiar with. The 4 of those around generic skill capabilities for the students to develop, and then intellectual nurturing or intellectual development. And one of those, which we're highlighting discussion around today, is the development of an improved understanding of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. You can see there that that graduate attribute is broken down into, getting the students to develop a better understanding of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and culture. Also knowing the right protocols and the right terminology to use. In my role in the School of Access Education, particularly with the Academic Learning Centre, we often have students who are not sure of the language or the appropriate terms to use in their academic communication. So we clarify that for them in this unit. In this module. Also talking about in this particular module, we get the students to do some self-reflective activities where they look at where their own cultural values come from, so they can, get a better appreciation for what we call cross-cultural competence. So looking at what their own background values are and then linking them to a better understanding of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander values. We all know that having an enhanced understanding of something or an enhanced understanding of a particular culture then leads to, people feeling more comfortable and people feeling empowered to get involved with that community. So all of this is aimed at building a more inclusive and respectful community as we work together. And of course, the graduate attributes are about building those capabilities throughout the students' study, throughout their undergraduate course, and then of course taking those capabilities into their profession and their workplace. So then I worked with Maddie Stewart to develop the content. How will we make this graduate attribute? What sort of content do we need to include to get students to develop these kinds of attributes and capabilities that we're talking about? Well, we wanted the students to we decided on these learning outcomes. We decided that we wanted to have some activities that would build a better understanding of history and culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in Australia. And even myself working, who's grown up my life in Australia, working with Maddie, who's based in our Townsville office, from the Office of Indigenous Engagement, I learned new stuff as well, which was fantastic. And we drew on lots of resources, from around the university. So I can only imagine what undergraduates are going to learn, whether they be Australian or particularly international students. They'll get an enhanced understanding of history and culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. We also drilled down on what are the appropriate protocols. So we looked at some policies and around the respectful terminology that is to be used and positive language to celebrate cultural diversity when referring to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in, whether the students are talking about in discussions in their lectures or workshops, or whether it's in how to refer to them correctly in their writing. All of this we hoped by giving them activities to improve their understanding, we will help the students work together as part of our CQU community and feel empowered to get involved perhaps more with the Office of Indigenous Engagement. We called our module, Indigenous Engagement, it's for everyone, because we don't want the Office of Indigenous Engagement or the projects that they're involved in to be strictly for people who identify as Indigenous, but for everybody to feel empowered that they can be a part of this community. So then we drilled down, well, they were the learning outcomes that we wanted students to achieve. And we had 3 hours to devote to the volume of learning within this undergraduate core unit. So we decided on these kinds of core content areas to elaborate on for the students. And we created lots of content where Maddie was able to find great videos from the Office of Indigenous Engagement. We drilled that down into simplistic information that students can understand around explaining the acknowledgement of country, around how important family and kinship is within this culture. We made a timeline of events that explains throughout history and reconciliation of significant events that are celebrated throughout the year. We talked about Indigenous knowledges and understanding, and that's a big one that's part of the CQU Renew and Curriculum Refresh. We talked about the impact of intergenerational trauma and how that has led to some issues in these communities today. We also debunked some myths together, so some frequently asked questions that students might ask around Indigenous culture. So we've created some activities and some quizzes to debunk those as part of the module. As I said, we explain respectful language and terminology. And also then we finished the module with how to get connected, how to get involved with the Indigenous community here at CQ Uni. So joining up to their Facebook page, their CQU Yarning Facebook page, and also the opportunity to get involved in projects with their office. So then all of this content then has to be embedded into our fantastic Moodle site, and that's where learning, design and innovation come in. So once Maddie and I developed all of the content, we've been working with Zoe in particular and Nick Lawler also to make that content come to life. So they've been using H5P software. So I'll get Zoe, I'll stop sharing now, and I'll get Zoe to share her screen to show how we've made that content come to life in Moodle. And I'm sorry, I hope that's not too much information I'm sort of getting through, but there certainly will be the opportunity for questions as we're going along. So Zoe, thank you if you can showcase.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Anne. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Try and make that a swift transition. Now, can you see my Indigenous engagement screen there?
Yep, we can see it.
Yep.
I can't hear anybody.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Now, I'm just going to move a few things around. Okay, so this is our Indigenous engagement screen here within Moodle. So firstly, I just wanted to identify what H5P is. Now, most of you in the room probably already know what that looks like in Moodle, but for those of you who aren't really familiar with it, H5P is a abbreviation HTML5 package. And what that means is that it's a really easy way for you to create and share and reuse interactive HTML content within Moodle. So here is where some of those elements that Anne has just described with content, our lens here is this is my editing screen that you may see here as well. So our first topic is the graduate attributes, which Anne has described. So all of our lesson has a very consistent layout. We have a audio button up here, which has some voiceover, which is just a brief bit more information here of the content that we've used, as well as some images. So as I scroll through here, you will see those videos that Anne described earlier. So we've got, again, our audio content, so the students can listen to the content that we've got here. And then we've got our video, which incorporates the use of some interactive questions as well. You will identify the H5P in the resources by just seeing that little H5P icon down the bottom here. Now, this particular lesson has about 20 pages in it, and I think we've got about 10 or 11 H5P activities built into these lessons as well, and they will always consist of your audio, your content, your activity or your video, and you'll see here we've got some images as well. So I'm just going to scroll through some more of the content. You'll see another video here about family and kinship, and another video here. This activity here in particular is one I wanted to highlight.
Sorry,
this is really helpful. This is a yeah.
Can you hear me, Zoe? Just your screen. There we go. Your screen feed is very, very slow. That's all. So yeah, it's taking a few seconds to catch up to where you're talking about.
Sorry, guys.
Well, you're right. We can see the timeline now. But I just thought I'd let you know that. Yeah.
Maybe try turning your video off, Zoe.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Hang on, let me do that really quickly. Okay. I can't do it quickly. Sorry, guys. I'll just keep prattling on. Now, our timeline here, as you can see, is another interactive feature. So this is really fun. This is quite helpful when it comes to displaying your content, because you can click through the option menu down the bottom here. It will display your content as well, or you can flick through the arrows on either side to take you back and forward, which is quite helpful as well. And you'll see, obviously, we've got our breakdown of the date, what the event is that happened on that particular day, and then a little bit more content as well. How are we going? Can we see me? There we go. I'll stop my video now. So next page is about reconciliation. We'll scroll back down here to our Indigenous communities. And again, we've got some more interactive content down here as well, and some activities for our students to follow. I also have some Indigenous people. We have our map here, of course, of where all of our locations are within Australia, and of course our Indigenous wording as well as to what their names are. And our other fun H5P activity that I want to quickly highlight, because I know we don't have a lot of time, is our memory game. So this one in particular is really beneficial. Thanks, Faith. So this memory game here, a lot of you will be quite familiar with this kind of a scenario here. We're talking about our 3 significant dates here. Obviously our National NAIDOC Week, our National Reconciliation Week, and our National Sorry Day. So this is a really fun activity to help students learn their content, as well as highlighting that H5P element as well. So it's a pretty simple little memory game. You click on your question marks, it flips over the images, and you just need to match them up. Once you've matched up an image, it will display some more detail about that particular date, just to highlight, you know, the content that we've developed. So H5P isn't scary. It's quite easy to navigate through. Moodle does allow you to, it does sort of teach you along the way. It does prompt you within the different fields where you need to put your images, where you need to put your content. And then once you've uploaded it, it is pretty easy to embed it into the HTML and display it in this lesson form that we've done here today.